Taiwanese and Tibetan activists unleash fury and ride for free Tibet against CCP tyranny. Lonel Messi transformed into an arch anti-communist figure in absurd propaganda. A big explosion occurred in a residential building in Xinjiang, Hebei. Xinjiang Mountain Tourist Center served tourists water collected from women's restroom pipes. Taiwanese and Tibetan activists unleash fury and ride for free Tibet against CCP tyranny. This year marks the 65th anniversary of the March 10 Tibetan uprising. Tibetans in Taiwan have held the Ride for a Free Tibet event for 14 consecutive years, speaking up for groups oppressed by the Chinese Communist Party, CCP. Tibetans in Taiwan held up signs and chanted slogans, demanding the CCP restore freedom and human rights to Tibetans. The Tibet-Taiwan Human Rights Connection held its 14th annual Ride for a Free Tibet bicycle event, hoping to remind Tibetans, Taiwanese, Hong Kongers, Mongolians, and other ethnic groups to not forget history. Tibet-Taiwan Human Rights Connection chairman Tashi Tsering, in 1951, the CCP forced Tibet to sign the 17-point agreement for the peaceful liberation of Tibet. Although the Tibetan government did not want to sign it, after being coerced into signing, it took less than 10 years for the Dalai Lama to flee. Tibetans who remained in Tibet have since faced all kinds of oppression by the CCP, but Tibetans have not given up to this day. In addition to local Tibetans, attendees included newly elected legislator Chen Pui and representatives from Hong Kong. Chen brought his daughter to speak up for human rights in China. They emphasized that the CCP's ambition is by no means limited to Tibet, Xinjiang, or Hong Kong. Taiwan legislator Chen Pui, in 1951, Tibet signed the 17-point agreement, which is actually a very important warning to us. We also know the situation is also very serious in East Turkestan and Xinjiang with the Uyghurs, and the situation in Hong Kong is exactly the same as what's happening now. So no matter what, we must resist this kind of tyranny. Hong Kong Edge of Boundaries Youth Secretary General Sky. Today, our gathering here is not simply to commemorate the anniversary of the uprising back then, but also because we understand freedom is not something that can be taken for granted, it needs our protection. Under CCP totalitarianism, it's not just Tibetans and Hong Kongers suffering tremendous difficulties and torment, but we all know the CCP's wild ambitions will not make it give up. Its next target is Taiwan. Before the human rights riders set off, there was also a geshe, equivalent to a doctor of Buddhist philosophy in Tibetan Buddhism, who presented the riders with traditional Tibetan hata scarves to express blessings. Lonel Messi transformed into an arch anti-communist figure in absurd propaganda. Hudson Institute's China Center Director Yumikin said the Communist Party is accustomed to interpreting trivial incidents as huge anti-party conspiracies. This ideological paranoia has absurdly turned soccer star Lonel Messi into an arch-nemesis against communism. In an article for the Washington Times on Wednesday, February 14, Yumikin wrote that the huge waves recently triggered by Messi's absence from a Hong Kong soccer match powerfully illustrates the CCP's deep-rooted ideological paranoia and political schizophrenia. The crux of this controversy lies in the Chinese Communist Party's profound suspicion of the international community. Its origin lies in the party's perpetual belief that there are conspiracies to undermine the communist regime, that such conspiracies are ubiquitous and premeditated, Yumikin said. He said this mentality prompts the CCP to interpret even minor events as huge anti-party schemes, and to respond with exaggerated, absurd reactions that flaunt its paranoid worldview as well as aggressive and belligerent nature. On February 4, Argentina-born international soccer superstar Lonel Messi arrived in Hong Kong with his team for an exhibition match against the Hong Kong squad. Messi sat on the bench for the entire match because the team doctor said he was injured. Disappointed Hong Kong fans later discovered that Messi played 30 minutes in a subsequent match in Tokyo shortly after. Suddenly, this minor sports event involving Messi was portrayed by the CCP's pervasive propaganda machine as a huge international conspiracy. The CCP interpreted Messi's decision not to play as a deliberately orchestrated move by various overseas forces, and then carried out distorted analyses on the history and ideologies of each force. Yumikin explained there are two reasons behind the CCP media's actions. First, CCP leaders are unhappy with recent political developments in Argentina, and their reaction to Messi not playing is inseparable from this. Newly elected Argentine President Javier Milei advocates free markets after taking over from leftist political forces that ruled for years. Milei explicitly rejects socialism and opposes Argentina joining the BRICS led by Beijing to replace Western economic dominance. Milei's stance poses a direct challenge to CCP influence. As a global football star of Argentine nationality, Messi has unwittingly been caught up in this ideological struggle of the CCP, which interprets his absence on the Hong Kong pitch as an intentional act of defiance and a declaration against CCP political ambitions, Yumikin said. Secondly, CCP ideological paranoia has led its media to make conspiracy allegations against the football club Messi plays for. An article in CCP nationalist tabloid Global Times portrayed the Florida-based club as an anti-communist fraud organization collaborating with the CIA. Yumikin said the CCP regards Messi's absence as part of a broader anti-communist agenda, highlighting the absurdity of its behavior in defining international collusion. He said the CCP tends to view world events through the lens of ideological confrontation, with every action seen as part of a wider anti-communist struggle. The CCP now demands Messi provide an explanation and apology over this matter. Yumikin said the CCP's sensitivity and paranoia leads it to interpret individual actions as politically motivated, and it spares no effort to suppress dissent and maintain its official narrative. Yumikin pointed out, the huge waves triggered by Messi's absence from the Hong Kong football match reflects how the communist worldview is the real driving force behind China's, CCP's, political system. The hallmarks of this worldview are deep-rooted ideological paranoia and a tendency towards political schizophrenia. A big explosion occurred in a residential building in Xinjiang, Hebei. On the fourth day of the Lunar New Year, an explosion occurred in a residential building in Xinjiang City, Hebei Province. The blast wave was huge, shattering almost all the window glass in the building, blowing out all the doors and windows on the first and second floors. Online, there were reports of multiple casualties. The news briefly topped the hot search trends. According to Cover News, there was an explosive fire in the Jinyuanmingdu community of Renzi District, Xinjiang City, Hebei early in the morning on February 13. Videos from the scene show severe damage to the first and second floor steel structures, with the exterior steel walls bent and peeled off. The window frames of the 2 rows of windows in the white building behind the structure had fallen off, the glass was shattered, and the damage was severe. A shop owner in the community said she heard a loud noise around 8 a.m. The location of the incident was at the North Gate, far from the shops on the west side of the community, but the sound was still very loud. It did not affect our normal operations. Another restaurant owner said that the accident that happened on the morning of the 13th, he heard the sound of the explosion, which was near Building 9 near the North Gate of the community. Online videos show that the shockwave from the explosion caused severe damage to the surface of the residential building. A 6-story gray building was almost completely destroyed. The glass in residents' homes was shattered, and many windows and security windows were blown off. Bricks and tiles were scattered on the ground, and it was a mess. Some netizens also spread the message that the major explosion in Xinjiang, Hebei was an act of revenge, using explosives of tremendous power, and the specific source has also been figured out. Screenshots show someone saying, the explosives used in Hebei were TNT, blocks that explode when activated, and RDX, I know the source. The person explained that RDX is chemically called hexogen or cyclotrimethylene trinitramine, also known as cyclonide, which can cause combustion and explosion when exposed to open flames, high temperatures, vibration, impact, friction, and is an explosive with extremely great explosive power, 1.5 times more violent than TNT. On Platform X, formerly Twitter, there was also a message from a netizen who seemed to be informed, Shandong Rizhao and Chang, who said, "Tonight I'm sending offerings in mourning, after finishing mourning tomorrow I'm rushing for the funeral, burying. I called 16 local people, the youngest is 3 years old." On February 14th, some netizens on Weibo complained and questioned, it wasn't until today that yesterday morning's incident came up. The less information, the bigger the incident. It was only today that yesterday's accident came up. This looks too scary. Has it been made clear in one day what caused such serious damage? Were there any casualties? What the hell exploded so badly without fire, and shook the whole building into pieces like that? Too scary. Alas, the new year is not yet over. Netizens commenting on Platform X said, Hamas can come to Xinjiang for field research now. Deleting Weibo posts is another victory with 0 casualties. Why does it look like a bomb? What secret weapon did China line up? Hurry up and delete posts and add smoking bans. China is still in a peaceful time. The disasters in the land of Rakshasa look like natural disasters, but are actually man-made disasters. Wutai Mountain Tourist Center served tourists water collected from women's restroom pipes. During the Chinese New Year holiday, many tourists visited Wutai Mountain in Shanxi. However, some visitors discovered that staff at the Wutai Mountain Scenic Area were collecting water from the pipes in the women's restroom and using it to fill water buckets for tourists to drink, sparking heated discussion. On February 13th, a tourist named Ms. Tang posted a video on social media claiming she witnessed staff at the Wutai Mountain Tourist Center rest area filling water buckets from pipes in the women's restroom. The video shows a female staff member wearing a gray and white jacket using a mineral water bucket to collect water from the faucet of the mop sink in the women's restroom. She then carries the half-filled bucket out of the restroom and places it on the water dispenser in the rest area for tourists to drink. The video quickly went viral, attracting public attention. Afterwards, Ms. Tang told the media that on that day, she and her family were visiting Wutai Mountain. A little after 2 p.m., she and her family were resting at the Wutai Mountain Tourist Center, preparing to eat something before heading home. She picked up some instant noodles, intending to go upstairs to the hot water room to get water. However, the door to the hot water room was locked, so she went to the hot water room on the first floor, but the amount of water she collected there was too little, so she waited by the water dispenser for the water to boil again. While waiting, she saw a scenic area staff member carrying an empty bucket into the women's restroom. The staff member then placed the filled bucket on the water dispenser for tourists to drink. Ms. Tang complained that by the time she finished making her instant noodles, she had completely lost her appetite upon discovering this. She had wondered earlier why the bucket looked yellowish, and did not expect it was water used to wash mop rags. After the video went viral, Wutai Mountain Tourist Center staff responded that this behavior was not good, and they would provide feedback. They also said the water in the scenic area is mountain spring water, which staff and local residents also drink regularly. In response to the statement from Wutai Mountain staff, internet users were unconvinced, but that faucet is still in the restroom. Even if the water has no issues, the fact that the faucet is in the restroom and needs to be inserted into the bucket is a problem. Other mountains may also use mountain spring water, but they should install a separate faucet to dispense the water instead of collecting it from a restroom. Getting it from the cafeteria would be better than getting it from a restroom, right? No matter how much explanation there is, it does not make up for the disgust people feel. Bucket water should be properly bottled water. If you're collecting tap water, you might have some argument. Some internet users resignedly stated that this kind of phenomenon probably exists in many scenic spots. Do you think Wutai Mountain is the only place getting water from restrooms?